House will now come to order. My pleasure to welcome Pastor Reverend Corey Rajak from Faith Lutheran Church here in Pierre, who will lead us in prayer, and he'll be followed by Annabelle Simpson from Pierre and Samantha Sukup from Tyndall, who will lead us in the pledge.
We pray. Author of justice and ruler of all, raise up public servants who will fashion and shape laws that will not only check brutality, but will also encourage people to live in peace. Keep us from enacting laws that are marred by prejudice, favoritism, or inequality. Restrain us from acting hastily or reacting in vengeance. Give us the ability to work for what is necessary to keep the peace, and let us exercise care, lest our laws become impossible burdens upon the citizenry. Enable us to foster legislation that provides government with strength and power, tempered by justice. Inspire us with the wisdom to write and enact laws that will guarantee safety, protection, and integrity. Cause us to encourage goodwill among the people, that all citizens of this great land may grow in their appreciation of justice. Use the efforts of this body and those who interpret them for the accomplishment of what is pleasing to you. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Allers, Anderson, Bartles, Barthel, Bartling, Beal, Bordeaux, Bruner, Campbell, Carson, Chase, Clark, Conzett, Denner, Diedrich, DeSanto, Duval, Freimuller, Glanzer, Goodwin, Gosh, Greenfield, Haggard, Holly, Heineman, Holmes, Howard, Hunhoff, Jameson, Jensen, Johns, Johnson, Kaiser, Carr, Ketwig, Lake, Latterell, Lesmeister, Livermont, Lust, Marty, May, McClary, McPherson, Mills, Otten, Kent Peterson, Sue Peterson, Pischke, Qualm, Rasmussen, Reed, Roden, Ring, Rounds, Rosem, Schaefer, Shanefish, Smith, Soley, Steinhauer, Stevens, Tolson, Turbeville, Wheezy, Willardson, Wismer, York, Zickman, Speaker Mickelson. Mr. Speaker, a quorum is present.
All right, Madam Clerk, we're going to do our special guest right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have met Summer Roderschott. Summer spends time between Watertown and Hayti. She's a senior at Hamlin High School, and she plans to attend Evangel University in Springfield, Missouri, and she made the mistake of letting Shirlene know that she can sing. So if you wouldn't mind standing up, I think she's going to bless us with the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Approval of the journal.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Chief Clerk of the House has had under consideration the House Journal of the 30th day. All errors, typographical or otherwise, are duly marked in the temporary journal for correction, and we hereby move the adoption of the report. Respectfully submitted, G. Mark Mickelson, Chair.
All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on State Affairs respectfully reports that Senate Bill 76 and 128 do pass, Senate Bill 144 and 212 do pass and be placed on the consent calendar, and Senate Bill 214 do pass as amended. Respectfully submitted, Larry Roden, Chair. Also, the Committee on Judiciary respectfully reports that Senate Bill 65 do pass, Senate Bill 63 do pass as amended, and Senate Bills 84, 92, and 191 be deferred to the 41st legislative day. Respectfully submitted, Mike Stevens, Chair. Also, Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Office of Engrossing and Enrolling has carefully compared House Bills 1012, 1070, 1137, 1157, 1163, 1168, 1178, and 1183 and finds the same correctly enrolled. Respectfully submitted, G. Mark Mickelson, Chair. Also, Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that House Bills 1077 and 1213 were delivered to His Excellency the Governor for his approval at 10:15 a.m., February 28, 2018. Respectfully submitted, G. Mark Mickelson, Chair.
Messages?
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to return herewith House Bills 1007, 1116, and 1268, which have been amended by the Senate, and your concurrence in the amendments is respectfully requested. Respectfully, Kay Johnson, Secretary. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that House Bill 1184 was deferred to the 41st legislative day. Respectfully, Kay Johnson, Secretary. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform your honorable body that House Bill 1199 was lost on second reading and final passage. Respectfully, Kay Johnson, Secretary. Also, Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to return herewith House Bills number 1012, 1070, 1137, 1163, 1157, 1168, 1178, and 1183, which have passed the Senate without change. Respectfully, Kay Johnson, Secretary.
Motions and resolutions.
Representative Tolson moved that the House do concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 1270.
Discussion on that motion. Representative Tolson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope you all stick with me and concur on this bill, so thank you very much.
Further remarks? Seeing none, the question for the body is Representative Tolson's motion that the House do concur with Senate amendments on House Bill 1270. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine. The member shall proceed to vote. Yes, Representative Duvall.
Otten's no.
Yes, granted.
Thank you very much. This morning, several of us were fortunate enough to have some shadows from the Boys and Girls Club, and we still have 3 students with us this morning. We have Brianna Berry, Bella Pickner, and Gavin Black Bear. Thank you for coming back to watch us this afternoon.
Let's welcome the folks from the Boys and Girls Club. Yes, Representative Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do some volunteering in my community in Sioux Falls. One of the places I volunteer is the Center for New Americans. I'm basically a teacher's aide. I help people individually or in small groups learn the English language. Well, a group of those people are here with us today. And in my time with them, I've come to know their stories. They've escaped their countries, wherever they may be in this world. They've gotten away from war, famine, persecution. Many of them have spent years in refugee camps. They're separated from their families, but they've come here to start over in a brand new culture and a brand new life. They live in my community, shop at the local stores, go to local churches. Their children go to our schools. They work in the local meat packing plant or in large department stores or cleaning rooms. All they want is to start over and be Americans. And they are here with us this afternoon, and I would ask you to join me in welcoming them to Pierre.
Thank you. Please welcome.
Representatives Goodwin, Jameson, Marty, May, Sue Peterson, and Stevens. Representative May. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 58, nays 9, and 3 excused.
Representative Tolson's motion to concur with Senate amendments on House Bill 1270, having received the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 15, making formal application to the United States Congress to lawfully change the medical enrollment criteria for the Veterans Health Administration to include all veterans who served in World War II and the Korean War and who received an honorable discharge or discharge under honorable conditions for their service regardless of current income status. Representative Lesmeister moved that the House do concur in Senate Concurrent Resolution 15 as found on page 349 of the Senate Journal.
Second. Remarks on that motion? Representative Lesmeister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, thank you. And it worked so great for Representative previously. I'm just going to say I hope you concur with this resolution. I think it's a good resolution, and I'm just going to save time and leave it at that. Thank you.
Further remarks? Seeing none, the question before the body is Representative Lesmeister's motion that the House concur with Senate Concurrent Resolution 15. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine. The member shall proceed to vote. Is the doctor of the day in the gallery? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to direct your attention to the back of the gallery. Right back there is Dr. Scott Van Kulen from Brandon. He's sponsored by the State Medical Association. He received his medical degree from the University of Minnesota in 2001, and he completed his residency at Maine Medical Center in Emergency Medicine in 2004. He practices at Avera Queen of Peace Hospital in Mitchell. Would you please thank Dr. Van Kulen in his, you got 2 or 3 boys with you? All 3 are your boys? I'll be darned. So look at those 3 good-looking boys up there with the doctor. Please welcome him. Yep, Representative Freimuller.
Personal privilege, please.
Granted.
Thank you. Representative Goodwin and I would like to welcome the Black Hills Area Boys and Girls Club members up here that we got to have dinner with last night, and Richard Walker, their director from Hot Springs. Thank you all for coming. Could you please
Let's
welcome
give them a round of applause.
Representatives Freimuller and Carr.
Representative Roden. Granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I just noticed in the back of the chamber a young man that I had the privilege to serve with a number of years ago. He was long in the tooth when I was a freshman legislator. Great, always great to see him back. Kent Junkie.
Kent Junkie.
Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 67, excused 3.
Very good. Representative Lesmeister's motion that we concur with Senate Concurrent Resolution 15, having received the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
Representative Qualm moved that the following bills be placed accordingly on today's calendar. Senate Bill 9 to follow Senate Bill 146, also Senate Bill 11 to follow Senate Bill 9, and also Senate Bill 13 to follow Senate Bill 11.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That motion does carry.
Representative Qualm moved that when we adjourn today, we adjourn to convene at 1 p.m. on Thursday, March 1st, 2018, the 32nd legislative day.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Yes, Representative Gosh. Granted.
I don't know if anybody from the House floor just heard, but it's certain individuals' cell phone may or may not have just gone off.
Well, I'm certainly open to that kind of an inquiry. For confirmation, I'd simply call in Representative Schaefer to confirm that. Moving right along. All right. Consent calendar.
Senate Bill 155, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the liability of the cost of jail confinement, and Senate Bill 82, an act to revise certain provisions providing for the inspections of larger passenger vehicles used by nonprofit organizations.
Any questions on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the question before the body is approval of the consent calendar. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine. The member shall proceed to vote. Yes, Representative Tolson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have some of my family here,
Oh, by
and
golly.
I want to introduce them. My wife, Linda, the love of my life. Will you please stand up, Linda? That's my wife. My sister, Pauline, come all the way from North Carolina to see what we do in South Dakota. And my daughter, Trish, we call George Bush's personal trainer. We call her Trainer Trish Bearden from Sioux Falls. I want you to welcome here.
Please welcome the Tolson family. Well, your daughter found her way into a very good legislative district, I know.
Representatives DeSanto, Lattarell, Sue Peterson, and Wismer.
Representative Tolson's got one more thing.
I do have, would that happen to be in your district, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Representative Steinhauer. Granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've got two very important people with me here today. Girls, stand up. Two of my granddaughters. This is Kira Steinhauer and Mackenzie Steinhauer. They go to school in Brookings.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes,
Personal privilege.
Representative Peterson.
I think Representative Tolson made a small mistake. His daughter lives in my district.
Yes. Yes, we share that. I forgot. All right.
Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 67 and excused 3.
The consent calendar, having received the majority vote of the members elected, is hereby declared passed. Yes, Representative Freimuller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We forgot a certain member of this body's birthday this last week.
Well, more than
So-
one. Yeah, should we get that? Let's get that done right now. Well, wait.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh, there he is. Well, I know we forgot Representative Peterson Sue, whose birthday was Saturday, and then we deferred the singing of Representative Qualm's birthday on Friday, and Representative Beals on the same date. Anyone else? Any other birthdays? When's his birthday? Well, Bruner's the one we need to bring up front for this birthday song, don't you think? Bruner. Representative Bruner, you're wanted at Representative Tolson's desk. All right, Bert, take us away.
Okay, is that okay, Mr. Speaker? May I? Mr. Bruner, Representative Bruner. Yeah, and Rep. Beal, come on up, Beal. Yes, come on, Arch. Sue, get up there. Sue. Lee, where's Lee? Come on, Lee. Come on, Lee. Bubba. We're gonna sing it. We're gonna sing it once, and remember, Representative Bruner's name is Bubba. Bubba. Okay. What do you want? No, we're going to do it once. Okay, to Bubba. But it's to everybody. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bubba. Happy birthday to you.
We'll move on to second reading of Senate bills.
Senate Bill 8, an act to establish provisions as to how campaign contribution limits apply to certain aggregate contributions.
Senate Bill number 8, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Johns.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Lust has an amendment, and I would defer to him at this point.
All right. Representative Lust, you've been deferred to again.
Should be a practice we all should adopt, frankly.
Well, it won't happen a lot, but it's happened a couple of times.
I do have a motion at the desk.
And has it been distributed?
It has.
And are you moving it this time?
I do.
Is there a second? It's been seconded. Would you like to address that amendment?
I would. It's Amendment 8WA, and it merely cleans up some of the language that several of us spotted as it came through the process, and I think it clarifies person or entity is defined in statute very clearly. So the other, labor organizations, groups of persons, corporations, all those things do not need to be itemized because they're picked up in the definition of person or entity, and I think that's a much better approach to the language. So I'd ask for your support.
All right, thank you. Any further comments on the amendment to Senate Bill number 8? Any further remarks? Hearing no further remarks, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Representative Johns, would you like to speak to the bill as amended?
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 8 is brought to you at the request of the Government Accountability Task Force that I served on this summer. It is denominated an act to establish provisions as to how campaign contribution limits apply to certain aggregate contributions. It will provide, in essence, that all committees that are controlled by the same person or entity, including any parent, subsidiary, branch, division, department, or local unit thereof, are considered to be affiliated and will share a single contribution limit, both with respect to contributions made and contributions received. That's the essence. That's it. I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you very much. Further remarks in regard to Senate Bill number 8 as amended? Any further remarks? Hearing no further remarks, the question for the House is final passage of Senate Bill number 8 as amended. Those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine. The members will proceed to vote.
Representatives Greenfield and Holmes. Oh, and Latterell, Representative Latterell as well. Latterell votes no. Representative Holmes. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 64, nays 2, and excused 4.
Senate Bill number 8 as amended, having received a majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Are there any questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 148, an act to revise the list of organizations that may approve and accredit a non-public school.
Senate Bill number 148, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Bordeaux.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. Senate Bill 148 was brought here last year, and I was told to bring it back this next year and that we would get support. Now, what this bill does is it allows the Bureau of Indian Education schools like Takini, Teoshpazina, Teoshpadopa. There's a number of native schools in the state that are trying to participate and be just like the other folks I stood for so graciously, sometimes against my own party, trying to get education to the forefront here and try to get these kids to be able to participate through this COSA accreditation program. And this is widely used in the whole Western Hemisphere. It was vetted with South Dakota Education. I attended a number of meetings this past couple years where they garnered support from the South Dakota Department of Indian Ed as well as the South Dakota Department of Education. So it's a good bill. Appreciate your green vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Further remarks? Representative Conzit.
I have to remove my gum. I do have a question for the sponsor.
State your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Has anything changed in the past year that this legislation is being brought back? Maybe new information?
Do you wish to answer that question?
I do wish to answer the question, but I haven't been as closely working with this, so I know that they continue to get the support. They continue to go back and visit with all the various parties that they had been working with. And again, South Dakota Education came and supported the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? Do you have? All right. Thank you. Further remarks in regard to Senate Bill 148? Any further remarks? Representative Stevens.
Well, thank you. I think I voted against it last year, and this year I am voting for it. A lot of information was brought to us regarding the curriculum and how everything works. I think another big difference is that all of the educational groups came and supported the bill. So I think quite a bit has changed since last year, and I think we've all been truly educated about that process, and so I'm going to support the bill.
All right. Thank you very much. Further remarks? Further remarks? Hearing no further remarks, the question for the House is final passage of Senate Bill 148. Those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed, nay. The clerk will unlock the voting machine. The members will proceed to vote. Representative Freimüller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Personal privilege, please.
Granted.
Thank you. Representative Goodwin and I would like to introduce the Wall Government class for the high school, and David Ermish is the teacher, and we got to spend a little bit of time with them this morning, and they were wonderful. They had great questions for us, and I'll be sure and fill you guys in on some of their thoughts. So thank you all for coming.
Representative Mills. Granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Representative Ketwig and myself, we want to recognize a great-looking contingency from Volga Christian School. Please stand up. Future leaders of South Dakota, please welcome them.
Mr. Speaker, personal privilege. Granted. My family back here, Thomas and Lexi Haugard, my third oldest son and his wife are up in the back, and they're 4 kids, and they're expecting their 5th. So welcome to Thomas and Lexi and their family.
How many kids you got? 5? 8. That's one of the 8 Haugard children. 8. Yes. Representative Peters.
Personal privilege.
Granted.
Well, I've got another special guest here today as well. You've met my wife. I was here a couple weeks ago with my daughter. But I've got my son Alex here, who was here last year. I think a lot of you met him then. And when we go home in the off season, we play Pier, and he enjoys being the speaker. And because he got to go up and help the speaker last year, he was wondering if the Junior Speaker of the Day program was still available this year.
Sure, come on up,
All right,
Alex.
please welcome my son Alex and my wife Cindy again.
Representatives Hawley and Rosa. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 50, nays 17, and excused 3.
Very good. Senate Bill 148, having received the majority vote of the members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
Senate Bill 178, an act to provide certain exceptions from alcohol beverage provisions regarding events conducted by certain civic, charitable, educational, fraternal, or veterans organizations.
Senate Bill 178, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final debate. Are there any remarks? Representative Otten.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 178 is a bill about special licenses pertaining to civic, charitable, education, fraternal, or veterans organizations. Last year, there was 100 of these licenses given out. Not a very long bill. Section 1 is mainly a cleanup bill. As you see, they strike some language and put it back into the top, just make it look a little better. Section 2 is just a clarification that now a manufacturer or wholesaler may donate alcoholic beverages to the civil, charitable, educational, fraternal, or veterans organizations. Right now, a licensed retailer can do that, but apparently there's been some confusion as to whether a donation can be made by a wholesaler or a manufacturer, so we're just clarifying that yes, they can. Number 3, right now, if one of these groups or organizations has to buy from a wholesaler, Section 3 now adds a licensed retailer with off-sale privileges to sell product to these civil, charitable, educational, fraternal, or veterans organizations. As of right now, they cannot do that. If you have a charity event going on, whether it is large or small, and you have to go to a wholesaler. Well, if you have a small event, you may just want to go to your retailer and pick up a few bottles of wine or whatever you plan on serving there. Now, there's nothing in here that still prevents a large or small to go to the wholesaler and still get that product there, and I'll just make the assumption that if it's a really big event, they're probably still going to go to the wholesaler. But this would now allow a licensed retailer to also participate in that. There was no opponent in testimony, so please go green.
Further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, the question before the body is final passage of Senate Bill 178. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine, and the members shall proceed to vote.
Chair Bogle votes aye. Representative Ring. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 58, nays 9, excused 3.
Senate Bill 178, having received the majority vote of the members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
Senate Bill 97, an act to provide a special motor vehicle license plate for certain women veterans.
Senate Bill 97, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final debate. Are there any remarks? Yes, Representative Zickman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I bring before you a good bill. Senate bill is a bill to provide specially licensed plates for female veterans. This bill is simple and straightforward. Section 1 adds a woman veteran plate to the list of military specialty plates allowed. Section 2 dictates the requirements to receive a woman veteran plate. The individual must be a woman. She must be an honorably discharged veteran who served on active duty. Section 3 says that the owner of the new female veteran license plate is designated as both a woman and a veteran. Further, Section 3 does allow for the plate to contain specific information about the conflict in which the female veteran served, the female veteran's rank, and her status. Across the country, there are more women veterans now than ever before. According to a report published in February 2017 by the Department of Veterans Affairs National Center for Veterans analysis, 9.4% of all veterans in 2015 were female. By 2043, that number is expected to grow to 16.3%. In South Dakota specifically, there are 6,394 female veterans according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Female veterans make a significant contribution to our national security, but do not get the recognition that they deserve. Senate Bill 97 hopes to solve that problem. By passing Senate Bill 97, South Dakota will join the ranks of states like Ohio, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Illinois, among other states, who already have license plates designated for female veterans. As South Dakotans and as Americans, we value the selfless service of our military men and women. By passing Senate Bill 97, we will send a message to the female veterans of South Dakota: you are not invisible. We are here to support you. I urge your favorable consideration on Senate Bill 97. We want to remember that this is not a mandatory bill. If the female veteran wants to get her license plates saying woman veteran, that's fine. But it's not a mandatory bill. We had 4 other telephone testimonies that came in. There was no, as far as testifying against the bill, there was nobody testifying against the bill, only in discussion. The Senate voted, and they brought it out 35-0. But we want to remind you that it is not a mandatory bill, and we encourage your vote. It's a good bill for our female veterans. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll stand by.
Further remarks? Representative Goodwin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this bill. I served with a number of women in the military who are now veterans. They served honorably, and this is a special distinction for them. I ask for your green vote on this.
Representative Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really sincerely hope that when I stood up just now, you didn't look at me and go, oh, there's a female veteran. I hope when I stood up, you went, oh, there's a veteran. I happen to be female, but I'm a veteran. And I'm very proud of that. I don't want to be seen as there's a female veteran. I want to be known as a veteran. I served with my brothers and sisters in arms, and I'm very proud of that fact. You know, there's an anecdotal story being told about a female veteran. I have a veteran's license plate. A female veteran that was, when she got out of her vehicle, you know, someone approached her and asked and told her to thank her husband for his service because she had a veteran's license plate on her vehicle. I'm just going to ask you to stop and think what's going to happen if this actually passes. Now, I've never had that happen to me. If it had, I would have simply said, oh, well, actually, I was the one who served. And then we might have had a discussion about women serving in the military, and it would have been great. I would not have been offended at all. But if this passes, What's going to happen is my license plate, that is a veteran's plate, will then come to be looked on as that's the male veteran's license plate. So if I choose not to have a female veteran's license plate, that's going to happen to me probably all the time. They're going to start thanking me all the time for my husband's service because I have the male veteran's license plate versus the female veteran's license plate. I don't want to be distinguished, you know, and when I die, the flag on my coffin will be the same flag that is draped on every other veteran's coffin. It's one flag because we're all veterans and there's no distinction. So I hate to rise in opposition to this, but I am.
Further remarks? Representative Marty?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question for the sponsor.
Go ahead.
How do we determine the male veteran now? Does the current license plate distinguish male, or is it just all veterans?
I think it's all veterans, but we have to leave that up to the people that do the license plates, design, et cetera, which will be 3M. I think that's going to be worked out, I can assure you. But that's who makes them out and does the distinguishing factors, et cetera, on all those other license plates. So, but 3M will be doing that, 3M and the DMV.
Follow-up question, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Will we have to come back and designate male license plate, then veteran male license plate?
I hope not. Thank you.
Representative Lesmeister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just some comments here. You know, and I thank the good representative for service and stuff. This is a choice. We're not mandating anything. You can still have veteran on your plate. You can go get a women's veteran plate. We have multiple plates, as it's been stated in statute. It's a choice. So if a female veteran would decide that maybe she's not married, maybe her spouse has passed or whatever it is, that she would still like to have that designation as a woman veteran, I think we ought to give her that choice. What does it mean? It means she's proud of it. And I think this is a good bill. It was said in committee, this is a feel-good bill. Yeah, it does. It makes me feel good to pass this. So I hope you vote green on this, and let's move on. Thank you.
Further remarks? Representative Greenfield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to throw something else out. I'm not going to speak vehemently against this license plate. However, I think back in the days of really the use of the landlines when, you know, people were frequently using them and all the numbers were listed in the phone book. And there were women who lost their husbands. And they did not want it denoted in a phone book that they were Carla Brown or Joanne White. They wanted to keep their husband's name in that phone book because they didn't want people to know that they were a female living alone. And now what we're doing is we might be setting somebody up in danger because you are looking at a license plate and you're thinking, oh, here's a lady driving alone in a car. And I just wanted you to consider that before you vote in favor of it because, you know, that could bring forth some danger to that person. Thank you.
Representative McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'm going to ask you to vote green for this, and probably for my niece. She served in Iraq. She was in the Marines for 8 years. I would be damn proud that she would have a license plate for a female that's been in the service. And I have a daughter who's not in the service, but did not take her husband's name. And she's very proud of that, too. So I think we have a vast difference here. I think, to follow up a little bit on the previous speaker, I think those women who have been in the military I don't think are going to have a problem if someone identifies them as, oh, here's a female that's maybe single or driving by themselves. I guarantee you they ain't going to have no problem taking care of themselves. So I would really ask for your green vote on this. I appreciate the women that have served in the service to defend this country, and this is one way of recognizing that. Thank you.
Representative York.
I think that we're way overthinking this. I wonder if there was this kind of discussion when the veterans first came and asked for a veteran's license plate at all. I think it was probably just, yeah, go ahead. We have a lot of different kinds of license plates. This is a choice. It's not a law. It's not a mandate. You have to pay for them. And I don't think it deserves all the thinking and talking we're doing about it. Let's just vote green.
Representative Zickman, in closing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members of the body. And I want to say thank you for everybody here. Not only for this plate because it's very, very important to our female veterans, to a lot of them. And the testimony that we heard yesterday just sold me on the fact that we need to have this plate for our women veterans. I also served in the military, and I served with a lot of females. And they really, really were some of the backbone of the military in the United States of America. So I would encourage you to vote green. They've earned it, folks. They've earned it. And again, it's not a mandatory bill. They want to buy the plates, fine. If they want to buy the regular veterans plates, they can. If they qualify for any of the other 16 other areas, they can do that. But we're supportive here, folks, in South Dakota of our military. And we need to be supportive of these female veterans. Yeah, it was said that there was a senator across the way that drove into the Walgreens parking lot. She got out of her car. A person came up. She had a veteran's plate on the back. And the person said, please thank your husband for his service. And she said, that convinced me it's time that we women veterans have our own plate. So vote green, folks. Honor them.
Seeing no further remarks, the question for the body is final passage on Senate Bill 97. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine. The member shall proceed to vote. Yes, Representative Lake.
Personal privilege.
Granted.
As I look up in the gallery, I see some familiar faces along the left side there. I think the senior class from Hovind High School is here, so I would like the delegation on behalf of Representative Gosh and myself, I'd like them to stand and give them a hand.
Let's welcome them, please. Any of them with the last name of Roush? No Roush. There are a lot of Roushes up there, aren't there?
Representatives Carson and Carr. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 53, nays 14, and excused 3.
Senate Bill 97, having received the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
Senate Bill 146, an act to exempt off-road vehicle dealers from certain special event permit fees.
Senate Bill 146, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Gosh.
146 is a bill brought to you out of an idea. A few years back, we brought a bill was passed through here to regulate the sale of motorcycles at ATVs and the Sturgis Rally. Well, there were some inadvertent consequences throughout the entire deal, or throughout the process, and we find ourselves here today to try to maybe fix some of those events. As many of you know, In Mulbridge, we're very proud of the largest ice fishing tournament in the world, and because of that, we have sponsors, a local entity that sells off-road vehicles, sponsors our event. When it comes to displaying his ATVs at the event, we say, sorry, law says you can't unless you pay your fees and buy a license for one day. So this bill essentially would say, if you're in the county or a county adjacent to the event, you don't need to buy a license and pay a special fee just for that one-day event. I believe there's an amendment out there I would consider friendly. I'll stand by for questions.
Representative Chase.
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment that I'd like to offer on a voice amendment.
Okay, let me get my glasses on. Go ahead and state your amendment.
On the last line, and delete 1 and insert 2. So they would be allowed to do this for a 2-day period rather than just a 1-day period.
Line 8.
Line 8, yes.
Line 8, scratch out 1 and insert the word 2.
That is correct.
We have a second on that amendment? Got a second? Okay, Representative Chase, anything further?
We had this bill in committee yesterday. It passed unanimously. And I just started thinking, if you do have an ice fishing tournament, if you'd happen to have it on a Saturday, if you set up on Friday night, you could go through Sunday.
Okay.
Hold on. On line 6, there's also 1 day as well. I'm sorry. So we're inserting 2 on line 6 as well as in line 8.
Okay. Is that, yeah, we'll just accept that as clarifying the prior amendment. And the original second was Kaiser. You okay with that, Representative Kaiser? Very good. So the motion to amend is line 6 and line 8, scratch out the word 1 and insert the word 2. Okay, thank you. Further discussion on the motion to amend. Representative, seeing none, the question before the body is Representative Chase's motion to amend, striking the word 1 and inserting the word 2 on line 6 and line 8. All those members in favor of such amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no? No. That motion does carry. 146 is amended. Further remarks. Representative Bruner.
I have another voice amendment.
You do?
Yeah.
Go ahead and state your amendment.
On the page 1, line 9, at the end, remove the period and add, and designate ice fishing as the official state sport.
Do we have a second? Seeing any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Oh,
Mr. Speaker.
That amendment does fail for now.
You were right.
I was a little quick on the discussion. Go ahead, Representative Brenner.
You were right, Mr. Speaker. He is paying attention.
He was paying attention, but he started smiling. We didn't get the vein bulge. Representative Pischke.
I just want to talk in favor and urge the body to support this amendment. As many of you know, I'm an avid ice fisherman. I love to go out and catch those fish, and it's the one time of the year that I get to walk on water, so I get to compare myself to the representative behind me.
All right, Representative Bruner, did we dispose of that amendment already?
Withdrawn.
Withdrawn that. All right, that's all right with the second. So that amendment's disposed of. We're back on the bill as amended by Representative Chase. Representative Willitson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question for the sponsor of the bill.
Go ahead and state your question.
You stated that we passed legislation for the Sturgis rally, but isn't it true that a motorcycle dealer for the special rally has to pay a fee, a licensure fee to display motorcycles at the rally?
Do you wish to answer that, Representative Gosh? No. Was that a question?
Yes, sir.
We'll treat it rhetorically. He doesn't wish to answer that.
All right, thank you, sir. I would just like to point out that they do pay a fee. So why are we making a carve-out in this particular case? It doesn't make sense to me. I'd ask you to defeat the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further remarks? Okay, we're going to let Representative Hunoff go for a first time here. Representative Hanoff,
I have a question for the sponsor of the bill.
go ahead and state your question.
Thank you. Mr. Sponsor, is this a fee exemption?
Representative Gosh, you wish to answer that question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I believe yes it is, and it would be a permit exemption, yes.
Representative Lesmeister.
I think what this bill's really intended to do is in this case, this sponsor has come in. He spent a lot of money to help put on this, in this case, an ice fishing tourney. And just give them a little due diligence to be able to park some of their RVs or recreational vehicles here, or off-road vehicles, in sight to where maybe they do capture a little bit of their funds back. It's a good local way to promote your business and the ice fishing tournament in this case. I hope we vote green and go on with this. I'll support him all the way.
Further remarks? Seeing none. Question before the body is final passage of House Bill or Senate Bill 146 as amended. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine. The member shall proceed to vote. Yes, Representative Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for today, if we would all rise and say a special greeting to our friends, Representative Soley and Representative McPherson. Representative Soley and Representative McPherson, your friends in the House of Representatives would like to greet you today. A quick passage from Ephesians 3. For this reason I kneel before the Father, from whom his whole family in heaven and on earth derives its name. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, and I pray that you be rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the saints to grasp how wide, how long, how high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with the measures of all the fullness of God. We all miss certain things about you, Representative Soley. I miss your quiet voice from the corner. Representative McPherson, I miss the barrel-rolling laughs to my right side that filled this entire chamber. We miss your presence with us, but we know your spirit is with us every day. Representative Soley and McPherson, we all wish you the very best.
Representative DeSanto and Holmes. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 54, nays 13, and excused 3.
Senate Bill 146 is amended, having received the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved. Bet your consent calendar was looking pretty good at one point in that debate.
Senate Bill 9, an act to require fiscal notes for certain initiated measures and initiated amendments to the Constitution.
Senate Bill 9, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final debate. Are there any remarks? Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. Senate Bill 9 was a product of the Initiative and Referendum Task Force this summer. Pretty simple, really. Just kind of walking through what the bill does. It says, for any initiated measure or amendment to the Constitution submitted to the Director of the LRC for placement on the ballot during the general election of 2018 and thereafter, Secretary of State shall request a determination for the Director of the LRC. If the Director of the LRC makes a determination that the initiated measure or initiated amendment to the Constitution has no impact, the Director shall notify the sponsor and the Secretary of State that the measure or amendment has no impact. If the Director of the LRC makes a determination that the measure or amendment has an impact, the Director shall prepare a fiscal note pursuant to 2-9-31, which says the contents of a fiscal note. It's basically like we do here for amendment. That fiscal note shall not exceed 50 words, and then it'll be placed on the ballot that will be voted upon. So again, this was the idea behind this was if we bring something that has an impact, we have to get a fiscal note attached to it. If someone or a group brings an idea that's going to affect potentially the bottom line of our state, we believe that the voters should see that fiscal impact as well. And so I'd ask for your support to Senate Bill 9 and stand by for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Further remarks? Representative Hawley?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I did oppose this in committee for the simple reason that we do have the requirement for the fiscal note on measures going forward, but this was aimed at one bill, is all this is brought forward, and it was on they've already passed the petitions and submitted them to the Secretary of State, and potentially it could be that one bill if it's approved. But right or wrong, if it needs it or not, I have no idea. I just think it's wrong that we change the rules in the middle of the road. So please vote this down.
Further remarks? Rebuttal, Representative Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, yes, we did pass a law last year, and there was a gap, and this is just to close that gap and make sure that everyone going forward follows the same rule. So I'd ask you for support in this. It's a good bill. When it comes down to it, it's about clarity for the people that are going to the ballot. And if there's something that's going to have a cost, I think they should know. That's it. So please support this. Thank you.
Seeing no further remarks, the question before the body is final passage of Senate Bill 9. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine. The members shall proceed to vote.
Gosh votes aye. Representative Weezy? Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yea 58, nay 9, excuse 3.
Senate Bill 9, having received the majority vote, the members elect is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
Senate Bill 11, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the time period during which petition sponsors may submit ballot measures to the Legislative Research Council for review and comment.
Senate Bill 11, having had its second reading, is up for consideration and final debate. Are there any remarks? Representative Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 11 also came out of the Initiative and Referendum Task Force. And when you're going to do a petition, you're going to sponsor either an amendment to the Constitution or initiated measure that'll go on a ballot, you can't start circulating your petitions for that until you have to do it within the 2 years from the election date. And then you have to have the petitions turned in 1 year from the election date for it. Okay? So what you have to do before circulating your petition, it does have to be submitted to the LRC for comments and the fiscal notes and the work that they do on it. What this bill says is you cannot give that information or your petition, the measure, to the LRC for not more than 6 months. So I said that wrong. You can turn I'm going to start all over.
Well, you had us at hello.
Yeah, can you restart the timer, please? I may need to. Oh, ouch. Whoa. Okay. I'm going to remember that one. Okay. The sponsors of each initiative or initiated amendment to the Constitution shall submit a copy of the initiative or the initiated amendment to the Constitution to the director of the LRC for review and comment not more than 6 months before it can be circulated for signatures. That's what I was trying to get out. I should have just read it right from code or right from the bill here. So that's what this bill does. Now, the LRC will work with sponsors of the amendments or the initiated measures, but if during that time they do not have to return it back within 15 days, it's in statute. So if you're within that 6 months that I'm talking about, they have to return it within 15 days so it keeps the process moving. This was favorable through the Initiative and Referendum Task Force, so I'd ask for your support. Thank you.
Further remarks? See no further remarks. The question before the body is final passage of Senate Bill 11. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will unlock the voting machine. The member shall proceed to vote. Yep, Representative Heineman. Granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Wake everybody up here. I do have to introduce, sitting up next to my wife, my oldest sister, Levon.
Please welcome Levon.
Representative Quam. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there was 67 yeas and 3 excused.
Senate Bill 11, having received the majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved.
Senate Bill 13, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the director of the Legislative Research Council issuing fiscal notes for certain ballot measures.
Question before the body is final passage of Senate Bill 13. All those and is up for its second reading, is up for final passage. Are there any remarks? Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We can just go ahead and vote if you want, but this Senate Bill 13 was also out of the Initiative and Referendum Task Force again from this summer. A few things here, I'll just run through what it does. Eliminates the redundant requirement for LRC to perform a prison and jail population cost estimate for initiated measures and initiated amendments to the Constitution. The law now requires LRC to perform a fiscal note for these measures and amendments. Any costs associated with prisons and jails would already be covered by that. It eliminates a pointless requirement that sponsors request LRC to create a fiscal note after the LRC has told them it needs a fiscal note. This step added no value and just created needless delay. Number 3, changes the version for which LRC will create a fiscal note from the version initially submitted by the ballot folks to the final version submitted. Sponsors often make changes when they submit their final version, so it makes sense for the fiscal note to be done around the version on which the people are going to be voting. And number 4, it aligns the timeline for LRC preparing a fiscal note with the existing timeline for the Attorney General's statement. With these changes, both timelines are 60 days, and the clock starts when the sponsors submit their final version, so it should not add to the length of the process. So that's just a quick summary of what Senate Bill 13 does. Again, it was out of the task force this summer, and I'd appreciate your green vote. Thank you.
Further remarks? Any further remarks? Seeing no further remarks, question before the body is final passage of Senate Bill 13. All those members in favor shall vote aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will unlock the voting machine. The member shall proceed to vote. Representative Peterson.
Personal privilege.
Granted.
Well, today So these two bills and the one that was in the middle of them, excuse me, were supposed to be yesterday, and I asked that they get held back till today. And as you saw on the calendar today, they were supposed to be at the top, and asked them to get bumped down. Excuse me. Many of you know some of the things my family has been going through in relation to my mom's health. When last September, she was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer. And as anyone that's gone through that knows, it changes your world, right? The day before session started, my mom had a bone marrow transplant at the Mayo Clinic. Before I came to session, she said, "Kent, I will be there before you're done." Well, today is that day. Through the grace of God and the prayers of all of you in this room, and the medical folks that, thank God, they do what they do, she's sitting right up behind me. I can't turn and look at her yet till I'm done. Sitting right next to her is my dad, who I've probably learned more from in these last 5.5 months than in the first 37 years of my life. And I hope I can be half the husband that he's been these last 5.5 months, the rest of my life. He has not left my mom's side through all of it. And I want to thank him for that. So, if you would be so kind as to help me welcome my mom and dad to your capital. Thank you.
Representative Allers and Bartling. Oh, you have, excuse me. It's Carson, DeSanto, Carr, Laterell, Marty, Peterson, Sue, and Roden. Mr. Speaker, all members present have voted.
Madam Clerk, please display the vote.
Mr. Speaker, there were yeas 65, nays 2, and excused 3.
Senate Bill 13, having received the majority vote of the members-elect, is hereby declared passed. Questions on the title? Seeing none, the title is deemed approved. Representative Qualm.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move we defer the remainder of the calendar till Thursday, March 1st, the 32nd legislative day.
All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Announcements. We got any announcements? The Speaker signs House Bill 1012, an act to revise certain provisions regarding political party status and declare an emergency. The Speaker signs House Bill 1070, an act to revise and repeal certain provisions regarding alcoholic beverages. The Speaker signs House Bill 1137, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the registration of lobbyists. Speaker signs House Bill 1157, an act to authorize certain alcohol manufacturers and wholesalers to enter into a sponsorship agreement with certain alcohol retail licensees. Was that Representative Barthel's bill? Yes, Representative Rosen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We didn't get a warning on that last little deal with our leader back there. And so that caught me off guard. But I wanted to just remind you that today on the calendar, there's a commemoration for the Mitchell High Colonels gymnastics team who won their 5th straight ESD championship, their 4th AA high school gymnastics championship in 5 years, and the assistant coach was the assistant gymnastics coach of the year. So I didn't want to let that slip by because it's pretty cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Rosen. The Speaker signs House Bill 1183, an act to revise the deadline for the certification of certain municipal ballot language to the county auditor. The Speaker signs House Bill 1178, an act to provide a penalty for the failure to complete timely audits by certain entities. The Speaker signs House Bill 1168, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the abandonment or dissolution of television translator districts. And the Speaker signs House Bill 1163, an act to revise certain provisions regarding municipal publication deadlines. Oh, wait, there's more. Speaker signs Senate Bill 126, an act to revise certain provisions regarding municipal annual reports. Speaker signs Senate Bill 147, an act to authorize local governing bodies to establish per diem rate for housing and development commissions. Speaker signs Senate Bill 10, an act to provide for the resolution of conflicts by multiple initiated measures and amendments to the Constitution adopted at the same election. Speaker signs Senate Bill 50, an act to authorize the Board of Regents to contract for the construction of the American Indian Student Center at South Dakota State University and make an appropriation therefor. Speaker signs Senate Bill 51, an act to authorize the Board of Regents to contract for the construction of an athletic support facility at South Dakota State University and make an appropriation therefor. Speaker signs Senate Bill 53, an act to authorize the Board of Regents to sell existing real property in Pennington County and to acquire real property in Pennington County for the use and benefit of South Dakota State University West River Ag Center. Speaker signs Senate Bill 54, an act to make an appropriation for the payment of extraordinary litigation expenses and to declare an emergency. Speaker signs Senate Bill 58, an act to revise certain provisions regarding tax increment financing districts. Speaker signs Senate Bill 106, an act to establish certain provisions regarding the placement of a foster child with a relative or close family friend. The Speaker signs Senate Bill 110, an act to establish certain findings pertaining to pre-abortion counseling practices by abortion providers in South Dakota and to amend provisions regarding mandatory third-party pre-abortion counseling. Speaker signs Senate Bill 114, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the removal and storage of abandoned vehicles. Speaker signs Senate Bill 119, an act to provide certain provisions regarding the furnishing of fraudulent disability documentation when renting accommodations. Speaker signs Senate Bill 139, an act to revise certain provisions relating to child support. Speaker signs Senate Bill 167, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the consideration of joint physical custody of a minor. Anyone have any announcements? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Representative Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Local Government tomorrow, 10 a.m. We'll be discussing 911 and wine. So come on down. It should be an interesting discussion.
Speaker also signed Senate Bill 209, an act to revise certain provisions regarding the Nutrient Research and Education Council.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Representative Haggard.
House Tax meets tomorrow morning at 8:30 for an informational meeting, discussion among the committee members. Thanks.
Representative Otten. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, House Ag and Natural Resources. We have 3 bills up, and one's a brand board bill, so could be interesting. Representative Willitson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just like to invite everyone tonight to come over to the Clubhouse Hotel. We're having a little event for Representative Jameson. As you know, he's not coming back next year. He's going to be the mayor of Sioux Falls. So bring your checkbook, come on over. We're just an informal meeting right by the fireplace at the Clubhouse. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You're welcome. Further remarks? Representative Allers.
Appropriations meets tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. budget setting.
Representative Beal. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That motion does carry. We are adjourned. Thanks, Jocelyn. It's really nice to meet you. Alex, I'll help you get back to your dad.